Alright, so it is morning here on the farm. It is the first week being back. And so I just want to kind of give a little bit of overview as to what things are and how things are going along. And give a little bit of tour of the place. So back here we've got the back field as kind of the beginning area as to where some fruit trees are going to be going in. And the like, we've already got a pear tree and an apple tree over there, and then a large old apple tree here. And so the backfield will kind of be staging ground for hopefully some annual crops and a swale that'll come in across, capturing a lot of this water as it runs downhill, and then being able to nourish some trees down there, and then putting in some layering system where we'll have trees and then fruit bushes, followed with some annual crops, and then eventually switching to a perennial system of asparagus and flowers and the like there. Here is one of our larger black raspberry patches, which does really well. In fact, we have a little wasp going around, both getting some nectar, and that'll be our caterpillar control. And this black raspberry patch does so well, I'm guessing because of the wood pile that was here for a good long while, and it's slightly downhill. And so you're going to have all the nutrients and all the water that comes from there nourishing this patch here. As we come along and around the workshop, we get to the main garden. Now we've already done some work on it these past 2 days. We have sheet mulched with hay the tomato plants. We've got peppers in there, and then various annual crops with some strawberries in the back as a perennial system. Beginning to put in a mini composting pile. I say composting because it's not going to be a turned system. It's just going to be a bunch of materials piled up, and then in time it decays and gets worked into the ground. And eventually, after planting and harvesting is done, we'll send in the chickens to really work the ground and to work everything up. We've got some black raspberries planted there. Out here we have 2 cedar posts that we put in the ground for this little grapevine, who ideally is going to grow up these old cedar trees. And we use cedar because it naturally is resistant to rot. So the cedar will kind of grow up and then cross, well, the grapevine will grow up and cross to the other cedar tree. And then when the mimosa tree that we have planted in the garden grows up, the grapevine will be able to cross to the mimosa tree and use all of that lighting. The mimosa will provide a little bit of shade and energy to the garden area. And then whenever we cut back the mimosa, since it's a nitrogen fixing tree, it'll add some nitrogen into the soil for the garden. We have 2 large black walnut trees here, and a third one over in the distance. This row of cedar trees we're likely going to be taking out, either selling the wood or using it here on the farm. And then beyond there we have an acre-sized pond where we're eventually intending to put in a floating island made from recycled water bottles. And from there, we won't go into the pond pasture too much. We say pasture because we have ponies on this farm. And so we have an existing dam that's holding back the acre size of water, a little boat there. And you can tell that the grass is eaten down from the years that the ponies have been grazing it. And then I got a small chicken wire structure there that is attached to the chicken coop, which is their overnight coop there. A small shed here at the base of the black walnut. And there's more black raspberries in and throughout there, some daylilies on a hill back there. The main barn and a bat box up there. It's part of our insect control. It's not inhabited yet, but in time it will be. Up on the wire, you can just see it, is a barn swallow. Barn swallows will eat 2 to 3 times their body weight every single day in insects. And so it's good to have them around. Some people will use old gourds as bird boxes. And then we've got 2 of our ponies here. That one is Ty, and that one over there is Trixie. And they have open access right now to the backfield, which has, as Joel Saladin would call, nursing home grass. But it's getting pretty sunny out, and they've probably had their fill. So they're up here at the barn. Got a cherry tree here in the front yard. The house there. A mulberry tree growing up through here. It's pretty backlit in that shot. There we go. Some walnut, and then more black raspberries. That over there is a large mulberry tree that produces a great deal of mulberries, and it's actually a mix with white and black, and then a bunch of hybrid trees. We have a row of mimosa trees, and again, I like the mimosas even though it tends to get a lot of criticism around here because it is a nitrogen fixer. So anytime you cut it back, the roots will self-prune, releasing nitrogen into the soil. And then it also produces a nice silky white flower, so that any time it comes, and I'll send in another video later on in the season as to when they're in bloom, but the insects really love them. We'll get hummingbirds come throughout and really love the blooms of the mimosa tree. And so we'll send in some videos of that. And it's also a very fast growing tree, and so it's really nice to have a lot of that organic matter that has a fast turnover that you don't mind pruning, and then you can just return it to the ground. You can use the long straight sticks as walking sticks or posts or whatever you want. It's a very fibrous wood. And then just to kind of finish the tour, for right now, the far field dips down. That valley drains into the pond, and then it goes up on the other side, and then beyond that is another larger field, almost a combined sum size of all of this, and then it goes down into a wooded area which ends in a creek. And then this road goes up and continues on, but that hedgerow up there is the border of our property and of the farm. These areas here used to be where we would put circular bales for the ponies, and still do in the winter months. We have another pony, Maeve, short for Mayflower, over there relaxing. We have 2 brood mares and a stallion, and then the 2 fillies that are growing up, and the barn swallows flying all around. But either way, the hay bales have been decomposing over time, and so now these work as great compost mines that we will gather compost or manure for our sheep mulching. And so that's the beginning of the farm. Permaculture Northeast is underway. We're out here working every day, getting things in the ground, getting plants, propagating plants, and putting seeds in to get some genetic diversity. And in time, we'll see how things turn out. This is Frenchie Powell with Permaculture Northeast. Catch you guys around.